Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to some more World of Tanksy action. This video, so we're going to be asking ourselves a question. You may have noticed that when I did my review of the T14, I included a game with over 1200 base XP, which is really unusual for reviews. That's a lot more base XP than I would normally incorporate, but it was only first class mastery in this thing. So my question is, okay, what are the ace requirements for this tank these days? So I aced this thing many moons ago. Before it, like back when it used to see tier 3s potentially. And I believe my ace game was something like 950 odd base experience. 6 kills I think. And it was in one of those games shooting partly tier 3s. It was about 1900 damage. So back then, less than 1000 base XP would get you an ace in the T14. I showed you a Chase the Ace video not that long ago, which involved, among other tanks, the Chi-Nu, the Tech Tree Japanese medium tank, tier 5, which required about 1000 base XP to ace. My game was a little bit over. But we know these days 1200 base XP is not enough to ace this thing. So the question is, what do you need to ace it? And can we have a go? So, we're here on... oh, the name of this map escapes me. Ruinberg, of course it is. And initially I was thinking, well, I mean, the T14 isn't the slowest tank in the world. Can I just plough down the middle of the map? I quite quickly, decided against that. Came back and went over into the city here. And at the moment, I'm just chilling. Waiting for this T34 to make a mistake, like that. And then I shoot him, and he shoots me, and... ooh. 123 damage. He's not using the 57mm. He's using the 76mm gun on that tank, which most people don't use because it's not very good. It has better alpha damage, the penetration's alright, but like the rest in terms of meaningful stuff is not very good. Now, I've loaded an APCR here to deal with the KV-1 because frankly, the penetration on this gun sucks, and dealing with a KV-1 with about 90 pen is awkward because all they need to do is angle and that's going to give you problems. So I had intended to be shooting the KV here, but you know, whatever, I guess. It looks like the KV-1, by the way, is using the howitzer. So we're just picking out flat bits on the turret of that guy, and if this guy's going to poke again, I'll blap him, but it looks like he might have thought better of it. But unfortunately our team appears to be getting a little bit surrounded, and there's a KV-220 behind us, and we're definitely keeping the APCR loaded for that guy. Turret is the weaker spot on that tank. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean it's going to go through every time. And the thing with KV-220 drivers is, as a general rule of thumb, they know what they're doing, which makes things a little bit awkward. So I really want to deal with this guy, and one more shot should finish him off, and there we go, side of the turret, he is done. So, because this is the T14, I should probably warn you in case it's not already obvious, you are going to see, oh, he's missed with the howitzer, you are going to see some gold usage. If the use of gold ammo brings you out in a nasty case of hives, please look away now. Actually, you should have looked away a couple of minutes ago. I'm not going to use it against soft targets because I'm not stupid, but oh no, we take some damage there from artillery. But we are going to use it to deal with harder targets. And you can see here, now that I'm expecting to engage a T34, I'm switching back to armor piercing. AP, perfectly fine for dealing with that tier 5 Soviet medium tank. Can we pick up the kill? No, we can't. He gets just behind the building in time, and I use an improved rotation mechanism on this tank to improve the gun handling as opposed to vents, so that means my reload isn't quite as good as it could be, and maybe the better reload would have secured the kill there. Who knows? Anyway, we've kind of looked like we should win this game now, and so I am going to go and see if I can deal with that annoying artillery, or see if there's a Matilda 4 back here, or a Panzer, or something like that. Still got a good amount of hit points to work with. We're up to 2 kills, and basically 1200 damage done. So, who are we going to find? Come on, sometimes you get artillery hunkering down at the back here. Sometimes they've moved to the other side of the enemy team cap circle, and they're kind of at the back, and there is the fair, and I bounced that shot. Now, I really should have taken the time to try and get the tracking shot with that, if I'm being honest. And he puts one into me, but he's not going to get out of this alive. And there we go. Pick up the kill on him. Panzer IV Hydro... No, can't really pick out a shot on him at the moment. Grilla is going to be somewhere, and I actually load HE, expecting to have to deal with the artillery here. And there we go. We take off half his health, and the Su-85I picks up the kill. And that just leaves this Matilda 4, which is another relatively tough target. So AP is not the most reliable, although I do have side shots on this guy. So you can see me switching back to armor piercing, but as it is, the guy dies before that does anything, and that is the game. So, is this enough to ace the T14? Well, as you can see there, the answer is a resounding no. That is not enough to ace the T14. So, first class mastery, fire for effect, no big shiny medals or anything, but that's not bad in and of itself. 1,904 damage, 3 kills, 1,351 base experience. So that's over 1,300 base XP now, still first class. Alright. Shout out to the Su-85I, 2.2k from him is a really nice result. And the KV-222 on the enemy team, 1.7k. Sorry mate, wasn't enough. We killed you and you were about the only thing keeping your team in it. 26 shots fired, 23 hits, 19 pens for that damage count, 7 hits received, 1 penetrated, 4 did not. A couple blocked by our armour, 936 assistance damage, few capture points at the end, not intentional, but it is what it is. And even though we fired our fair share of APCR rounds there to make the tank work, we still made a profit of 14,000 credits right there. So, yay! Okay, let's move on to another one and see if we can find out how much it takes to ace it in that game. So, game number 3 then, and I actually joined this game only just as the countdown finished. I think I was having some issues with my internet or something at the time. Anyway, we're here on Glacier, and it's a tier 6 match. Now, it could be worse, there are tier 4s to shoot at, but, well, trust me, we're going to find those tier 6s. So, I'm afraid this is going to be another game that could get expensive. Anyway, for anyone, by the way, who's wondering and you haven't seen my tank review on this thing, ooh, hello, Mr. T67. The reason that you end up having to fire quite a lot of gold rounds is that whilst this thing does get preferential matchmaking, such that you don't see tier 7s, its base penetration is 92. Its gun handling isn't the best. Even with gold, that penetration only goes up to 127. So, most regular tech tree tier 5 heavy tanks pack more penetration with their standard rounds than this thing does with its gold rounds. Just to kind of put it into some sort of context. Now, I came over to the middle glacier part of this map here, because frankly the T14 isn't exactly slow, you have some gun depression, and I don't really want to just run straight into enemy heavy tanks, because that's where you need to dab that 2 key. I'd really rather shoot at more lightly armoured targets, but as it is, that doesn't appear to be presenting itself, and our team disposition is such that, well, the heavy tank corner we have 0 presence in. Oh, AMX-40, alright, well, let's just use the for some reason I'm loading an APCR round. I remember why. So, just to give you an idea of how painful this gun can be, I had actually had issues with AMX-40s, with duck tanks, using this gun. And I really wanted to kill this guy and get past him because I didn't want to be tracked out in the open in front of the enemy tanks who were inevitably pushing through. Unfortunately, we get double tracked and tracked out in front of enemy tanks who are pushing through. So it didn't quite work, but hey ho. So I don't really want to aim these shots for too long, because it's just going to hurt. And because I had to use my repair kit on the tracks, we don't have it to fix the gun at this point, and this is all just going to get kind of painful. So, I'm trying to keep these guys spotted, I'm trying to keep these guys distracted, and if our team can shoot them, great. when suddenly... Oh dear. Right, so we're going to move through. Switching to fire HE here, because it's a Panzersoufflé 1C, right? That was the Christmas gift tank. That should be relatively easy to deal with HE. I've since learned that that's not really the case. He actually penned me with regular AP, so credit to him. He knew, well, he managed to hit me in the hole, which so many people seem to mess up. But yeah, anyway, don't shoot HE at those things. They're actually tough enough to make that a problem. Going for the KV-220 with an APCR round here, and all we do is blow his bloody tracks off. Next one. There we go. That picks up the kill. And now our repair kit is back, so we repair the gun. That leaves a KV-1 and T-34-85M. Even shooting at the turret, which is weaker than the hull, is problematic with this gun, even with APCR loaded. So, yeah. In fact, we actually missed the T-34 there and hit the VK behind him. Oh, Stug. Hello. Trying to side scrape here to make the best of our armour, and we can switch to AP to deal with the Stug, but he decides to bug out of the way, and that shot will bounce off of the T-34-85M. So, put a shot into the T-34 there. I mean, if I'm allowed to shoot into the sides of some of these tanks, then sure, I can switch to AP, but it's just not really working at the moment, is it? And T-34-85M, I'm just going to have to keep plugging away at his turret, frankly. Ooh, can I shoot at his side there? Oh, it looks like I can. Oh, VK. Okay. Oh, Stug. No, we only damage his tracks. Now, that AP would penetrate that fine, but I don't load the AP because I don't know that it's the Stug I'm going to be shooting at. And as it is, I actually missed the Stug. So we kill him with the next shot. It could well have been the Stug would have pulled back and would have actually had to start shooting someone else. We actually take down the T-34-85M, which is nice. Trying now to deal with the VK. And we've put a couple of shots into him. You can see how this game gets expensive quickly, right? Ooh, SU-100 in the background. I really cannot afford to be firing AP here and ballsing it up. As it is, I'm firing APCR and still messing it up. And just loads and loads of bounces. We are down to 10 rounds of APCR, and I carry a respectable amount in this tank because it has a pretty decent ammunition capacity. However, my team is finally getting some shots in, so there's some assistance damage for us. The cavalry has arrived, although this is the fragile sort of cavalry that could quite quickly get brushed aside. We bounce the shot there from the SU-100, a little bit lucky I suppose, because he is not using the top gun, and a new challenger enters the arena. That is indeed T6 medium, the American tier 4 medium tank, so we're going to load the AP, and I'm fed up dealing with the VK and the SU. Our cavalry killed them. Let's go and kill us a T6 medium. There's only 3 tanks left on the enemy team at this point. The Panzer IV-H, we know where he is. He's no threat to us. The T25TP was last spotted in the background there, but I'm just going to ignore him, and I'm just going to deal with this T6. One more shot to pick up the kill with any luck, and there we go. Now, where's this 25TP? He's the last one left on their team, and you can see, by the way, this thing kind of turns like a boat. And aim, and aim, and aim, and aim, and we don't quite kill him because of a low damage roll. Ah, well, sod's law. That is the game. So, that was a frantic one. We've picked up almost 2,000 damage that we've seen. We might have had some blind damage, I'm not 100% sure. 1,000 assistance damage, a top gun, shooting tier 6s. It was going to be an expensive game, but surely that's the ace, right? Well, apparently, no. No, that's not good enough to ace this T14 anymore. Right. Got first mark of excellence, though, but, okay. So, shellproof, spotter, duelist, fire for effect, bruiser, steel wall, and a top gun. Okay. So how much XP was not enough to get the ace then? So 1,733 damage, 6 kills, 1,461 base XP, not enough to ace it. So we're now almost up to 1,500 base XP, and it's just not enough. Right, okay. Shout out to the T67 on our team, almost 3,000 damage from you, sir, in a tier 5 tank destroyer, very well done. And commiserations to the enemy Panzer IV-H, almost 3,000 damage from him, not enough to pull his team over the winning line. And actually, if we have a look at that, the flank that we were on, Yes, we were dealing damage to some people, but we also kind of prevented them doing damage to anybody else. If we have a look at who was over there, KV-1, 0 damage, SU-100, 0 damage, AMX-40, 0 damage, Panzer Soufflé, 66, Stug 3B, 349, T6 medium, 0 damage, KV-220, 236 damage, T-3485M, that's a very, very powerful tank when top tier, 0 damage. VK3001P, 686 damage. So the guys we were fighting, we really occupied them for a very long time and bought our team enough time to, well, murderize them, which was nice. Let's not have a look at the ammunition resupply costs, eh? 45 shots fired, 33 hit, 19 penned for that damage count. 16 hits received, 3 pen, 13 did not, for 1,590 damage blocked by our armour, which, given that the armour isn't amazing on the T14, is actually quite good going. 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 8 damage, 6 destroyed, over 1,000 assistance damage, and, alright, fine. We spent 87,500 credits on ammunition. It was the only way we were going to do damage against a lot of those targets, and even then it didn't work. The position we held was worth holding, so, I don't really care. Even with a premium account, we would have lost 1,500 credits, and that's with Holiday Ops running. So, it is what it is. Anyway, clearly that wasn't enough to ace it, so I'm going to show you one more replay, and we'll see if we can finally nail it there. Okay, third replay of this video then. This is a tier 5 match, and there are tier 4s to shoot at. This is the best matchmaking you're going to get in the T14. If, however, you're curious and interested in trying to get lots of XP, this is perhaps not the best matchmaking, because there are lower tiers to shoot at. It depends. So, straight away, we're pondering going down into the valley. And if we have a look at what our team's doing, well, there seems to be a general trend to go in the opposite direction, and this is an encounter game on Corellia. So the capture circle, to be fair, is over on that side of the map. However, if you completely neglect this flank, it just sounds like envelopment territory. So we're not committing heavily to this flank, but myself, the KV-1, and who else have we got? Is that a Stug? Oh, we've got an SU-85 are coming over here. So 3 tier 5s are coming down into the Valley of Death, and we're going to see how we can do. And straight away, that's T14, but he's going to get himself into a kind of annoying position. He has spotted us now, and I don't feel confident to just keep rolling forward into that central location because I'm really worried about getting shot by people, although perhaps I shouldn't be because it's only a light tank who made it into that position, and there's no artillery in this game. Just putting that out there. So, we perhaps waste a little bit of time here with hindsight, but hindsight's 20/20, of course. Maybe I could have just pushed forward, and I actually do decide to in the end. But if I'd done this sooner... Oh, I take a hit there. If I'd done this sooner, then that might have been a little bit better for us. Shot there, and we managed to take the track off this Panzer, and now he's in a rather dicey position, because we can just keep him permatracked. And I make a misplay here. I'm a little too far forward, because that means I can get shot in the side. I really needed to be slightly further back to make that work. The problem with being slightly further back is that the Panzer IV may have been able to shoot us. So, we have advanced too far. So let's bid ourselves a hasty, perhaps that's not the right word, but a retreat. So there are plenty of bad guys over here. The team has definitely committed to this flank. So, if the enemy team is committed to this flank, then that should mean that our team should have a better time over on the other flank, right? They should have the numerical advantage and everything will be tickety-boo. How well do you think that goes? I mean, it should be the case, but how well do you think that's actually going to work out? Right, straight away this is getting a little awkward because both myself and the KV-1 really want to use this position to sidescrape and kind of reduce the amount of incoming damage we've got. I'm down to 168 hit points, bear in mind, at this point, which is not looking great. Just trying to put shots out towards these guys. That 14 TP, oh, I had a little bit to shoot at, but didn't quite make it work. You could argue maybe I should load a HE round for that, just to take his track off and do a little bit of damage. Maybe I should have done. Again, hindsight's wonderful in 2020. We managed to put a shot into him, but he's not really being cautious enough, and we don't really manage to put a shot into the side of the T1 Heavy before he gets into a kind of awkward flanking-y position. I'm trying to pull back to conserve my 168 hit points, load an APCR round to try and deal with this T1, but as it is, he gives me his side and we bounce anyway. And our friendly Sherman, so we've actually got a couple of tanks in the background in the shape of a Stug and a Sherman, actually pick up the kill. So at this point, the Su-85 and the KV-1 are both dead, and I am essentially performing a bit of a rearguard here. I am just trying to bounce, I am trying to buy time, I'm trying to get these guys killed, and I'm trying to let my allies there get to work and do damage. Bounce the 25 TP, and whew, this is getting a little bit hairy. We don't have any kills yet, but we are up to 1500 damage, just shy of. Scoreline is 8-6. But have you noticed that our team haven't swept gloriously through the other flank? That's not giving me particularly warm, fuzzy feelings. Now, it seems the enemy team over here have decided that maybe trying to attack a dug-in heavy tank who has fire support is perhaps not the best plan they've ever had. I'm glad to see that they've engaged their brain and decided not to repeat the mistake of 1, 2, 3, 4 of their compatriots. In fact, 4, 5, 6, 7, so we have seen half the enemy team over here. So we were definitely outnumbered. There were 3 of us who came down here. Okay, if you want to include the 2 guys who were giving us fire support, the Sherman is now clearing off. Then 5 versus 7 is what we had down here. So that should mean in the north we have an advantage. Anyway, I'm not going to keep harping on about that. Scoreline is 8-8, which compared to when we last saw it has gone rather not in our favour. Now, I'm being a little bit antsy here because I've only got 168 hit points left to work with. I didn't necessarily play that early bit of the game as well as I could have done. However, I think we made it up and we managed to dig in. There goes another friendly tank and suddenly the other flank is just looking rather shafted. So, I'm deciding to take this opportunity to be somewhere else. It looks like the enemy team have stopped pushing, and there is a cap circle on the other side of the map that is going to need to be dealt with at some point. Right. Okay. Round we come. The enemy team have stopped capping, which is interesting. I reckon at this point, if they'd have just all, the 3 of them who were over there, all just sat in the cap circle together, we probably would have lost this. And now, while I'm running away on my butts to the bad guys, they choose this moment to show up. Because of course they do. Oh, lordy. So, I have to turn around again in order to deal with them. Alright. Okay, there's some assistance. 25 TP. We managed to pick up the kill. That's our first kill of the game, believe it or not. It's not often you do 1500 damage in a tier 5 game before you pick up a kill. Stug 3B. Can we pick up a kill against this guy? He is, I kid you not, firing AP with the 105mm howitzer. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I recommend never loading AP with the 105mm howitzer. If he'd fired a HE round there, then he probably would have done some damage. He might even have killed me. But no, he's firing AP. Now, he's actually moved such that the wreck of our KV-1 is in between him and the bad guys who are, well, from his perspective, the bad guys, our team. So he's taking cover. That's fine. That makes sense. That's a reasonable thing to do, I think. However, if you're a low-profile tank like that Stug, this kind of cuts both ways. He's so low profile that he can hide behind that KV-1, and given that we don't have artillery, there's no artillery in this game, it's very difficult for us to dislodge him. However, being so low profile, it's also very difficult for him to shoot anyone else, because the wreck is in the way of his gun. And in a moment, I'm going to decide to take a risk, based on that assessment. If we can't shoot him, he can't shoot us, and I should be able to close this distance. I'm loading an APCR round because I really can't afford to bounce this. If he's using the howitzer, he could just blap me with HE and there's a reasonable chance he'd kill me here. So I am, to all intents and purposes, or I need to play as if I am a one-shot. However, I'm closing the distance here, and I reckon that I'm going to be able to get a shot on him before he is going to be able to get a shot on me. There we go, superstructure, dead, kill number 2. Switching back to AP. Now, There was a Sherman who was last spotted up on the hillock. Really can't afford that Sherman to be coming up behind us. I'm going back to AP here because he's at the top of a hill. If he's using all of his gun depression, he can slope his armor back sufficiently that my AP rounds aren't really going to cut it. And someone needs to deal with this guy, I think, because we need to get over to that capture circle nice and quickly. Otherwise this game is lost. And we can't really do that with this Sherman threatening our rear, or our other flank. So I'm going to go and deal with this Sherman before swinging round to do something about the cap. That is the plan. And like all plans, well, yeah, sometimes have to improvise. There's the Sherman. It actually turns out he is stock. But I mean, against this angled frontal plate, realistically, I still need APCR to have a decent chance of penetrating him. My AP rounds would penetrate some of the time, but time is kind of the essence here. And there we go. He's kill number 3. Now, I'm going to head over toward the cap circle. You could argue about the way in which I do this. I decide to take the long way back. Again, hindsight is 20/20. With hindsight, perhaps this is a mistake, because this will, of course, physically take me longer. But as this was an encounter game, I figured that I had time, and of course, just as I hit the bottom of this slope, that's when 2 of the enemy tanks drive into the cap circle, and suddenly I don't have quite as much time as I had envisaged. Right. Nonetheless, still got 1 minute 20. But I'm a little bit slow to react here, to be honest. What I should be doing at this point is taking a much more direct route back. But I'm very conscious of the KV-1 over to our right. And, in fact, I'm so conscious of him, it looks like I'm taking an even longer route round to deal with that KV-1. This is, in my humble opinion, a mistake. A potentially costly one. Because dealing with that KV-1 is great, but if the enemy team have already capped, it's pointless. And that KV-1 actually picks up the kill on our Panzersoufflé. He's only on 76 hit points. And then the Stug 3B is going to go and have a go, because he thinks he's hard enough. Turns out he's not. And, yeah, this is a problem. This is definitely a problem. So, we're going to face that KV-1. Now, if I'd taken the longer route, to be fair, there's every chance... Oh, that was a bad shot. There's every chance the KV-1 would have just shot me in the side, and I would have died, to be fair. And actually, someone on the enemy team drives out of the cap circle. Now, if they'd both stayed in the cap circle, I don't think I would have had time to go and get back to the cap circle. But someone's driven out, which means there's only 1 in the cap circle now, and that buys me time. Thank you, enemy team. Take a shot there from the AT-2. I think they've kind of looked at me, gone, he's only on 168 health, we can take him. Yeah, bear in mind I'm also now on 4 kills. AT-2 reckons he can have some of me, and, well, I mean, he's got a point. And yes, I'm firing APCR on the move. I want to fire something at him from experience. HE, 75mm HE isn't going to do much to an AT-2. Now, if he's going to be a dingus, he is going to come down here to try and deal with me, and dingus alert, dingus alert, dingus alert. Shot into the cupola to deal with him. I need to move, I need to move, I need to move. I do not have the time to faff. 2 enemies left. They're both in the cap circle. I don't have the time to approach this cap circle in an intelligent way to try and avoid taking damage or any of this jazz. I just need to do damage to these scrubs. And we put a shot into the Panzersoufflé there, unfortunately, and here I stop to shoot him again. Unfortunately, he didn't have most of the cap points. I actually load a HE round here, and I'm just going to have to try and do something. And unfortunately, the Stug 3B isn't a fool. He's got APCR loaded, and he just puts one through the front of my hull. And because the AT-2 penetrated me once earlier on, with his 75mm gun, a low damage roll would be enough to kill me. And as it is, I die. Which was annoying. Had I had more time to reset that Stug in the cap, and more time to deal with that situation in general, I could have killed the Panzersoufflé 1C by side scraping off of that rock to my right hand side, probably taking no damage in the process, and then I could have dealt with the Stug. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time. And the vehicle who shoots me, well done to you, piloted by Always in the Red, which seems an appropriate name. Anyway, let's look at the post-game stats of this and see if this was finally an ace. Is this what you have to do to ace the T14 these days? Well, I guess the answer to that question is yes. That is what you have to do to ace the T14 these days. Ace Tanker, Fighter, Duelist, Fight for Effect, Bruiser, Cool-Headed, and a High Caliber medal. That was a good result in terms of our personal contribution. Had I not lost as much health in the earlier part of the game in the valley, maybe I could have won that. Many ifs, buts and maybes. I think there were a couple of times where you could happily argue that I made a mistake in that game. But it is what it is. 2,590 damage done. 5 kills, 1,023 base XP. However, that is 1,023 without the Courageous Resistance for getting the High Caliber added in. And including that Courageous Resistance, that is how the game calculates Ace Tankers on a loss. Or calculates your XP for Ace Tankers and all that jazz on a loss. But over 1,000 base XP before adding in Courageous Resistance on a loss, that's pretty good going. It's just a shame there that, well, I just needed my team to be a little better, or I needed to make a couple fewer mistakes in the earlier portions of the game. It is what it is. The result stands, I guess. 47 shots fired, 33 hits, 25 penetrations for 2,590 damage done. 35 hits received, 9 penetrated, 26 did not, for 2,550 damage blocked by our armour. 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 10 damaged, 5 destroyed, 861 assistance damage, 14 base defense points, 3.4 kilometers travelled, and we made a small profit. So how much XP was it? Well, you have 1,023 original base experience, plus an extra 558 for Courageous Resistance. If you total all that up, you get 1,581. So to ace this thing takes somewhere in the 1,550 to 1,600 base XP range these days. It's a bit of a far cry from 900 and something back in the day when I first did it. Anyway, there we go. I thought you might enjoy some outings in the T14. I find it quite a fun tank, even if it does lean quite heavily on gold ammo, and it's kind of mediocre. It's not a great machine, but I was having good results in it. Anyway, there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and, of course, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.